Imagine receiving a mysterious wooden box with a single red button, and a strange man offers you $1 million just to press it. The only catch is that the moment you push it, someone, somewhere in the world you don't know, will die. For one ordinary couple, a desperate choice to secure their future will plunge them into a terrifying cosmic nightmare they can never escape. In 1976, Virginia, Arthur Lewis is a brilliant NASA engineer designing a camera for the Mars rover, while his wife Norma works as a literature teacher. Along with their young son, Walter, the Lewis family fights hard to maintain their stable, modest life. But one freezing winter morning, everything changes. Norma wakes up to the sound of an early morning doorbell. Limping downstairs due to a severe foot deformity, Norma opens the door only to find a strange, unlabeled package on the porch. Inside is a simple wooden box with a locked glass dome over a red button. At breakfast, Walter laughs it off with wild theories, and Arthur finds the box completely empty when he inspects it. Unsure of what it means, the family goes about their day, completely unaware that their lives are about to be shattered. The tension builds quickly as Norma faces a cruel student named Charles who mocks her limp, forcing her to show her scarred foot to silence the class. Meanwhile, Arthur attends a stressful NASA conference where journalists question the heavy involvement of the National Security Agency in their latest projects. Things get even worse for Norma when her principal abruptly cancels her tuition discount, throwing the family into immediate financial ruin. Desperate and overwhelmed, Norma notices the principal's nose is suddenly bleeding before she leaves the office. Back home, a knock at the door reveals a chilling stranger. A man named Arlington Steward stands on her porch, with half of his face horribly missing from an old wound. Arlington enters the house and presents an impossible, terrifying offer. If they push the button on the box, they will receive $1 million in cash, but someone they do not know will die. To prove he isn't joking, Arlington leaves a crisp, real $100 bill and gives them a strict deadline of 5 o'clock the next evening. He warns Norma that she can only discuss this with Arthur, leaving her completely frozen in shock. At the Langley Research Center, Arthur finishes building a custom prosthetic device to ease Norma's physical pain. His boss, Norm, proudly hands Arthur an official letter from the astronaut program, but their joy turns to ash when Arthur realizes he has been rejected. Crushed, Arthur returns home to a warm embrace from Norma, who finally confesses the stranger's horrific visit. Arthur examines the real $100 bill, deeply skeptical. Trying to clear their heads, they leave Walter with a babysitter named Dana and attend a theater play. But the thought of the mysterious box consumes their minds. Norma suggests calling the police, but Arthur reminds her of Arlington's warning. Any interference will void the contract. Back home, Arthur takes the box apart, down to the last screw, confirming there are no wires or mechanisms inside. It is completely hollow. As the hours tick away, financial pressure mounts. Norma suggests delaying her much-needed foot surgery to save money, but Arthur firmly refuses. Under extreme stress, Norma hides the box in the oven just to get it out of sight. The next morning, a NASA scientist named Jeffrey receives a frantic phone call ordering him to lock down his facility. At the same time, Arthur is at work, testing the $100 bill to verify its authenticity. Back at home, staring at the box, the crushing weight of their financial misery pushes Norma over the edge. Without thinking, Norma violently presses the red button, whispering to herself that it is just an ordinary box. The moment the button clicks, fate strikes back with brutal force. A frantic 911 call rings out across town. Screams and a sudden gunshot echo through a distant home as a woman is murdered, leaving her little girl crying in a locked bathroom. Moments later, Arlington Steward arrives back at the Lewis house. Arthur is paralyzed with fear by Arlington's disfigured appearance. Arlington calmly takes the key, stating the device will now be reprogrammed for another target. Arthur desperately tries to return the suitcase of money, but Arlington coldly replies that the choice has already been made. After Arlington leaves, Arthur hides the cash in a basement safe while Norma tries to act normal around Walter. But the nightmare is only beginning. The police are already asking questions about Arthur, knowing he is a high-level NASA rocket scientist. While preparing for a dinner party, Arthur gives Norma the custom orthotic gift, momentarily easing her pain. At the party, Norma's parents, Dick and Lana, are thrilled to see her walking so smoothly. But the peace is shattered during a gift raffle when Dick tells Arthur to pick a prize. Arthur draws a package, opens it, and gasps because inside is a box identical to the button unit. To make things weirder, the rude student Charles is standing right behind Arthur, staring with a hollow, unblinking gaze. When Arthur and Norma open the raffle box fully, they find an old photograph of a perfectly normal Arlington Steward before his horrific injury. They fake a laugh to hide their terror. Meanwhile, back at their house, the babysitter Dana sees a dark silhouette outside the window, but remains eerily calm while talking to Walter. At the party, Arthur asks Dick to run Arlington's license plate. Suddenly, a waiter with a bleeding nose approaches Norma with a chilling message. Her husband called the police, and the test will continue until the button is reprogrammed. Arthur angrily confronts Charles, sensing a trap, and forces his family to leave. On the drive home, Dana's nose begins to bleed profusely before she passes out cold. Arthur rushes Dana to a nearby motel, only to discover her identification is completely fake. When Dana suddenly wakes up, she frantically warns Arthur that he is in grave danger. Arthur looks around her motel room and finds it covered in detailed maps and surveillance photos of his own family. Worse yet, every single guest in the motel is staring at him with a creepy, synchronized expression. Arthur returns home and reveals to Norma that Dana's real name is Sarah Matthews. Later that night, Arthur discovers an old NASA team photo, and to his horror, Arlington Steward is standing right there among the scientists. The next morning, Norma receives a terrifying phone call. A voice says, "I see you right now," and when she looks out the window, a strange man is tracking her every move before Arlington hangs up. At NASA, the NSA director tells Norm's team that a rogue operation is targeting specific employees. Arthur visits Dick at the police station and learns Arlington's car is registered directly to the NSA. Arthur's eyes drift to crime scene photos of the recent murder. Realizing the timing matches the exact moment Norma pressed the button, Arthur secretly steals a photo marked with a bizarre alien symbol. Elsewhere, Norma is shopping with her mother Lana when a strange woman approaches her, whispering a dark warning, "NASA cannot stop what is coming," and the entities are targeting married couples under 40 with exactly one child. Suddenly, the woman's nose bleeds heavily, causing a panicked Norma to rush home. Following cryptic instructions, Norma goes to a massive local library. Arthur is also there, hunting through the aisles for answers. The moment Arthur opens a specific book, every single man in the library snaps their head up in perfect unison, chasing Arthur through the building like a single hive mind. Arthur flees into a back room where a bleeding woman presents him with 3 massive, swirling water portals. When Arthur asks what lies behind the other doors, she coldly whispers that it is eternal damnation. While the library chaos unfolds, Norma uncovers a hidden videotape containing top-secret footage of Arlington Steward. Mysterious women guide Norma to an empty room to meet Arlington face-to-face. Norma boldly asks if a lightning strike caused his facial deformity. At that exact moment, the water portals reach their peak height, and the crowd watches Arthur intently as he makes his final choice and steps into the blinding light of a portal. Back in the room, Norma asks Arlington if he ever loved his wife, leaving the disfigured man completely speechless. Norma touches Arlington's hand, showing genuine empathy for his torment, causing her to instantly lose consciousness. In a flash, Arthur and Norma suddenly wake up back inside their own home, with no memory of how they got there. Walter watches his parents walk around like emotionless zombies. Trying to maintain a facade, the family dresses up and attends a wedding reception. Nearby, a man named Martin explains to Norm that Arlington Steward was a scientist who died after being struck by lightning on a launch pad, only to return altered. At the wedding, Arlington coldly tells Martin that he is just delivering data to his employers, and the cosmic test will only end when enough humanity falls. Arlington points to a massive structure where thousands of unseen people are waiting for the next phase. Back at the reception, Arthur finally tells Norma about the water portals, but he is suddenly struck by intense dizziness. When Arthur steps outside for air, Jeffrey ambushes him at gunpoint and forces him into a car. Walter runs into the dark to find his father, but Norma watches in absolute horror as a group of strange men kidnap Walter right before her eyes, pinning her to the ground as she screams. Inside the speeding car, Jeffrey explains the massive conspiracy to Arthur, revealing Arlington's psychological weaknesses and how the entities manipulate human minds. Meanwhile, Arlington locks young Walter away in a motel. Arthur and Jeffrey realize they are fighting a force far greater than the military or the government. Suddenly, a car driven by an old man dressed as Santa Claus blocks the road, and a massive semi-truck slams into them with catastrophic force. The police find Jeffrey dead at the scene, but Arthur has vanished. Later, Martin and Norm watch federal forces surround the NASA Research Center just as a completely broken Arthur emerges from the facility, collapsing to his knees under a dark warning of cosmic consequences. The next morning, a battered Arthur and Norma return to their empty house, weeping for their missing son. To their horror, Arlington Steward is sitting quietly in their kitchen. Arlington claims Walter is safe, but reveals a devastating truth. The entities have completely stripped Walter of his sight and hearing. Arlington then delivers a monstrous final ultimatum. Arthur must shoot and kill Norma, which will instantly restore Walter's senses and free him. If he refuses, Walter will remain blind and deaf forever, and the cycle will never break. Knowing there is no other escape from this cosmic trap, Norma decides to sacrifice herself. Arthur draws his gun as Arlington turns his back, but Norma begs him to delay it, crying out for forgiveness. Arlington leaves, stating Walter is locked in the upstairs bathroom. Arthur and Norma rush upstairs to hear Walter screaming in total darkness, terrified, blind, and deaf. The crushing weight of guilt destroys Norma, knowing her choice to press the button brought this curse upon her family. She leads Arthur downstairs, comforting him for the last time. Drowning in tears, Arthur raises the weapon and fires, ending his wife's life to save their son. At that exact microsecond miles away, another desperate couple receives the exact same wooden box. The new wife presses the red button, and Arlington Steward appears in their living room to begin a brand new cycle of human suffering. Back at the house, a shell-shocked Arthur tries to comfort Walter through the locked door, but the police instantly swarm the home. Trapped in a daze, Arthur is handcuffed and dragged away by the authorities. Norm steps forward, promising a weeping Arthur that they will look after Walter. From the high bathroom window, Walter watches helplessly as his father is taken away forever, leaving the family home cold, empty, and utterly